know man passing by. Life is good, best I've ever felt. Get me up, somewhere new, somewhere I can find myself. Oh, I feel so alive. As I reach out to the sky. I found my way. I was in the dark against it all, but made it through the day. Cause I found my way. In bad times, I know I'll be okay. Cause I found my way. Cause I found my way. Cause I found my way. My way.
So I finally finished sanding all the way around. I think something like 6 days, long hours, over 50 sheets of sandpaper, and 2 sanders. One of them expired halfway. But got down, all the way down, I mean just down to kind of a, there's still a little bit of paint, just the original base coat of paint. It's super bonded on there, so I'm pretty happy. Down to fiberglass in a few places, especially where there was any cracks or anything. And you can still kind of see very minor spider cracking, but that I'll be able to fix with the fairing compound, and anything major we'll do epoxy. So yeah, all the way around looks really good. Actually, it's way smoother and less cracked than it was. And a lot of work back here in the back end because I have to hand sand so much of it, and yeah, so my arms are tired, but I'm pretty satisfied with it. So I'm back here working on the back of the boat, and just kind of an update on some things. So I know traditionally, historically, the trouble spot on all these boats, the land seas, and I think the sea campers too, is always around the back door. And this one's in such great shape, but I think I'm taking this trim piece off here, and I'm gonna just take extra care refinishing all the way around the door. Probably introduce some new epoxy. I don't know, get a look at the condition, just make sure she's really strong right around the door, and then I'll redo the trim after, so it'll make it easier to paint right up to the edge, and also just make sure that everything's super strong and reinforced for the future. I know this door still looks nasty, but anyway, the other thing is I am going to be repainting inside too soon, and then I got to refinish this window, and I'm noticing there's hardly any filler in this door, like foam, like the rest of the boat's full of foam. And I remember this door being kind of a real hot thing in the sun, so good chance to maybe insulate the door too. Make sure the door is also real strong. And speaking of the doors, both doors do show cracking, a little bit of cracking on the fiberglass around the edges, so I'm just gonna also pay very close attention to the doors too, make sure they're real sealed up. Use epoxy for sure, not fairing. I don't think I need to do any fiberglassing, but just make sure that the finish is real good and strong. And I don't know on these cracks if I need to do any more. Maybe just some thickened epoxy, fill the crack real good. I think it'll be fine. Thing's pretty strong still. Both doors are still feeling real strong. Just want to make sure they stay that way. So yeah, so just taking this trim off. I've just took the screws out, a few more screws to go, and then see if this trim pops off easy or not. I don't know. Oh shit, there's water in there. Check that out. Alright, so I just took the trim off. It was a little bit sticky, but really just a little putty knife and just kind helped pry it off gently, and I'm glad I did because this is a wood frame around here, and so super important, I think, to take care of this wood, keep it from rotting, and that explains why these doors fail. Is water, I'm sure, gets in here and rots this wood out pretty fast. Luckily, very little water's ever gotten into this one. A little bit down here, you could maybe, I mean, that doesn't look as good as some of the rest of it. So I think the wood's salvageable. Just clean this up and treat the wood. Probably, I'm thinking epoxy, and just epoxy all this. I don't know that it needs to be glassed or anything. As long as it stays sealed up and dry, it should stay pretty strong. Yeah, so I noticed that on the front door, there are little drain holes in the bottom of the fiberglass, like for if water got in there to drain out. And on this back door, there isn't. And see, water has leaked probably through the window and pulled up in there. I'm glad I'm pulling this window out to redo it too. Yeah, so I'm gonna, I think, drill a couple little holes in the bottom of this door so that water ever gets in there again, it'll just drain out, because that's nuts. Okay, so I ordered this tape that is supposedly weatherproofing tape, but also is supposed to be removable without leaving residue. I'm super nervous about that after what happened with the last tape I put on here, so I just stuck a little strip of this on here where I will be taping a window in, and I'm going to try to peel it off. And I don't know, of course, the longer some things are stuck on, you know, but... Well, okay. That was not too bad. I'm hoping it's true then, because I'm going to be taping these windows in. And yeah, so my plan is to go ahead and weather tape in all the old windows, because I really need, now that I've finished sanding everything, I really need to thoroughly wash and clean about every square inch of this boat to prepare it for fiberglass repairs and paint. And yeah, I'm going to have to also sand it again after doing repairs, but in the meantime, it's got, I mean, I'm trying to keep water from getting in everywhere. So hoping with this tape that I can keep it kind of weather tight. Also, it's supposed to rain, and I really don't want water getting in anywhere if I can help it. So I'm going to tape the windows in until I am basically ready to untape the windows, take them out, and then do any repairs right around the windows, and then immediately paint it pretty much. I won't have to wash the whole boat at that point. So that's the plan on that. I'm going to get on with it. So I'm getting ready for the fairing coat, and I wanted to point out that incredible tape that was supposed to not leave residue, well, it wasn't terrible, but you can see it still left some residue on this where it's over the dark color. And so that's frustrating. I haven't pulled out, I just untaped everything because it's only been tape on there for a couple days. Yeah, I didn't leave the tape on there long, just through the washing of the boat and this little rainstorm we had. And I think that if you put that tape onto like a smooth, like nice finished painted surface, that it would probably peel off pretty easily. But you put it on this like roughly sanded, like raw situation, and it's like so porous, and that tape's meant to water seal, so it just gets all into the texture and super hard to get off. So I'm so fed up with trying to tape this thing up. I think I'd almost just settle for getting water in the boat, but I don't know. I think luckily I'm getting close to the end here. So yesterday, I should have stood up the camera first, but I did some thickened epoxy, and I'm using the fast hardener. So geez, it hardens and so fast. I didn't have time to get the camera out. I had to work quickly. So I didn't mix it super thick, but kind of a semi thick, so it would kind of penetrate good. And I did this corner that was really rough, and you can see it's not even very smoothed out. I didn't really have a perfect tool to like try to smooth out the corner, but that's okay because I'm going to just sand it smooth. Anyway, so I like that. There was a couple little repairs, like this little gouge in the side. Yeah, it's actually not perfectly smooth, but now the fairing compound will definitely take it from here. So I did a little of that stuff. So pretty much I'm happy just using fairing compound on the rest of it now, I think. Well, I'm starting to get into the fairing situation here. Kind of a rough start. For one, working behind this ladder was a real challenge to try to get a smooth coat of fairing. Gonna be even more fun trying to sand it behind there and get it all smooth, but such is life. But then tried mixing on a little piece of plywood, thinking that was a good idea, and little bits of plywood came off and ended up in everything, which turned out to be a bad idea. Then I'm like, okay, well, I'll put parchment paper over that plywood because I don't really have anything else around to mix on. And then the parchment paper ripped and I got bits of parchment paper in it, so that didn't really help either. So the first parts of it have little bits of plywood, and next has a few streaks, but then started to get it together and not rip the parchment paper, and now there's just bugs landing on it. There's a few lines, but I know those can be sanded off. So anyway, making a little progress there. I've learned also take the tape off pretty quick, because once the fairing dries on the tape, then it's like super rigid and it's really hard to rip the tape off. So I've gone through and ripped the tape off everywhere I can already. Not right up there, it's still really fresh fairing. I'm going to wait a little while to rip it off, but I rip the tape off before it gets on there too much. So that's progress. A few little holdups, but all in all, I mean, it's going to be fine. I'll sand it out, and if there's any imperfections, we'll fix them. So yeah, liking it. Oh, well, been working all day on this. I'm pretty worn out, but I've got most of the fairing done on at least half the boat. So that's an accomplishment. Started the day working on the stupid residue from the tape. Acetone worked pretty well on it, but also not sure if that's a good idea, but tried some gasoline too. And actually the gasoline dissolved it pretty quick, but then I have to clean up the residue from the gasoline. So end result, I'd say either way about gasoline or acetone. Luckily it wasn't nearly as gooey as the original tape that was on here. So anyway, but yeah, fairing's coming along. Not great doing it outside. There's little bits of crap falling into it, but hopefully it'll sand out pretty good, and if there's imperfections it can just go over a little more fairing. So I think she's going to be absolutely beautiful in the end. This fairing is for sure going to cover up every little spider crack, every little imperfection, and it's going to be just perfectly smooth. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm super excited about it. Just tired, ready to relax with a beer. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to go relax. So anyway, but yeah, good progress. Tomorrow, tackle the other side, probably. Okay, I'm gonna have to order more fairing compound because getting down to the end and I'm not gonna make it. But this was 2 half-gallon tubs, so a gallon of fairing. Got 3/4 of the boat anyway, maybe more. Expensive stuff, but it's great. I wouldn't choose any other product. This is the total boat. All the total boat stuff is brilliant. No problem. Always like it.
Always mind to
So it's interesting, the block sanding immediately got it to work out. I'm probably gonna work in 15-minute segments just because I'm not that amazing of shape to be doing that, but it does start to immediately show kind of how the surface is kind of rippled. And do more sanding yet, and kind of get a sense for how I want to move on. All right, so I did decide that I'm gonna hold onto my remaining fairing compound because it's gonna be about a week before I get more, and I do get this feeling that when I sand this down, I'm gonna potentially want to add more fairing. So part of what makes me think that is when I look across the surface, to me, I can still see a few places where it looks almost like there's a little bit of a ripple in the surface. And so I really do think that I may want to go through there and add a little more fairing in a few places to try to really smooth out the surface. So I'm going to save my remaining fairing for this side, try to get all this side sanded. I've really never used a block sander before. I mean, I've used a little bit in my test area. I used this block sander, but I don't really know for 100% the procedure for it. I do know that you want to switch directions with it as you're using it. Probably work kind of in a star pattern, and so I'm going to do that to the best of my ability. But then the surface I'm working on does change. There's a little bit of a curve to it right here too. So obviously I'm not going to want to. I want to keep this curve in it and try to keep the curve looking nice. So that'll change my method a little bit, but. Using a pretty coarse sandpaper, and I think that's important because even when I did my test, the sandpaper was getting kind of buggered up. So I'm going to be taking quite a bit of fairing off. So I'm using an 80 grit sandpaper. I've got a whole roll of it that sticks on this thing, and so that's going to be my method. And then the whole plan long term is block sand it just to get a smoother surface, or like a level surface, not to have dips and so forth in it. And then once I get to that point, I'll come back with the hand sander and finer sandpaper and really get it like super smooth. So first step is just to get it like, nice and level, no ripples in it. So let's get on with it. Oh God, as expected, and this is a workout. And I put this fairing on pretty thick intentionally. And I did the worst job right at the beginning. And actually, I'm really impressed with how I applied it over here. It's sanding a lot. And I mean, it's easier to, I don't know, it's easier to sand. It's still hard to sand, but it's looking a lot better than over here, where I'll probably need to just, I might add a little more fairing in the lowest points because that looks the most on level. Everything else is looking pretty good. I'll show you. This part up here, a little more consistent fairing and sanding out a lot nicer. Still starting to see the high and low points, but I'm liking that.
Cause I found my